college football casino, every week we're like, oh man, if this happens in college football, then it's going to throw college football into an absolute frenzy. And then sure enough, every week something like that happens. This week it was, I mean, how many up
I think honestly this helped out some of the decision making.
Yeah, it definitely what is it? Made the playing field, I want to say more obvious, but also I don't know. How would you go about
Well, because
look
I mean, so Ole Miss, they got upset by Florida. That puts 3 losses for Ole Miss. They're out, in my opinion. I think they're out. They're not going to make it. Same with Alabama. Alabama did lose against Oklahoma. They got blown out 24-3.
and
So
also as an
that puts
as
3 losses for Alabama, and that's 2 bad losses, one with Vanderbilt and one with Oklahoma, that, like, they're done. Like, I don't see how you can justify them getting in with 3 losses. Just no.
But then my question to you is why did they only drop to number 13 in the rankings?
Because they're
That's
Alabama. It's because they're Alabama. But if they get in over a whole bunch of other teams, it's gonna be absolutely just you're gonna hear from it. They're gonna hear from it, and it's basically gonna make a debacle of this whole college football playoffs. If you put Alabama in, if you
yeah.
put with 3 losses, because in my opinion, I think Ole Miss, in my opinion, is better than Alabama. That's just my opinion on that.
Yeah.
And I that's it's just bad. It's just all bad.
Well, let's see at
I mean, because
Alabama. So
LSU or Ole Miss only lost to LSU. They did lose to Kentucky, so that's their bad loss. But their other two losses are, oh, I guess Florida's bad, but they did beat Georgia. They just blew out Georgia. Like, so, you know, I don't know. And Oklahoma, who just beat Alabama, Old Miss stomped. So,
well, yeah.
so if we're gonna get to an 8-3 team in, it's got to be Ole Miss over Alabama. I just can't see Alabama getting in. Sorry, that was a little soap opera right there, soapbox for you. Um, I think Tennessee's blowout win against UTEP pretty much guarantees them in. Penn State squeaked by Minnesota. Did you watch any of that game?
No, I did not.
Neither did I. That's what I was hoping you would. BYU, BYU is officially out. They just lost another one to Arizona State. But you know what? That really brings Arizona State up, and they're 9-2. They have a really good shot of making it and sneaking into maybe like the last overall bid. Colorado lost. Well, let's get into that game. Colorado lost to Kansas. You know, I love every second of this because UNLV played Kansas and beat them on the road. And Kansas, 3 of their 5 wins is against top 25 teams.
Yeah.
They
They
beat
beat
Iowa State, and they beat BYU back to back, and then they also beat who was it that they
they
beat?
beat Colorado. They beat all 3 of those teams in November.
Oh yeah, in a row. That's right. Yeah,
Yeah. So Kansas, the ranked team
yeah,
destroyer.
yep. And then they lost to the Illini back in their third game, and then they lost to Arizona State by 4. So a couple of their losses are only by or are ranked teams currently and only by a score. So Kansas coming in and doing that, upsetting Colorado. Do you think this pulls Colorado out now being 8-3?
Yeah. Oh, well, they're definitely not making the college football playoffs, but they'll have I think they can get all the way probably back up to maybe 15 if they just win the remainder of their games. Maybe no, they won't get that high. No, I think they're because again, we only have one more week left. So after this week, they'll probably go back up to 20. I don't think they'll go much higher than that, if any higher than I think 20 is the max. But when you look at now casino, the top 25, again, with 1 week left before we go to the what is it, championship games and stuff like that. Obviously, I think all the one loss teams in the top five are all in. Oregon, Ohio State, Texas, Penn State, Notre Dame. I feel like even if those teams lose or get blown out, they're still not going to drop far enough where they'll be out of the top
I would
20.
agree.
So then after that, that's when it gets dicey because Georgia or Tennessee, one more loss on either of their resumes. I agree with you. I don't think they're letting 3 loss teams into the
Right.
play.
So let me ask you, so with Indiana losing to Ohio State on the road, do you think, I mean, they were already, iffy, even though they were undefeated, do you think they make it in with their one loss
I
as of right
honestly
now?
I honestly think the outrage would be that I think the committee would put Alabama at 3 losses over Indiana at 1 loss. I really think they would do that.
Yeah,
I
I
think
would
I
agree.
think that would happen. That's why I'm saying I think the concern of for all of us Alabama haters is them literally just dropping to only 13th with 3 losses. Again, 2 of them are bad losses. It's not like the Ohio State, Oregon, where it's 1 point, against a team that's 1 or 2 in the nation. These are bad losses. Like
Mhm.
the what is it? Getting blown out to an unranked Oklahoma team by 3 touchdowns. How does that not drop you further?
I don't know.
That's
I have no
shocking to
idea.
me.
And so now on the flip side of that, I mean, you have Texas A&M losing to Auburn in 4 OT. And Auburn not having a great season. They're with that win, they are now 5-6. That puts Texas A&M at 8-3. That they're most likely going to be out. But I'll be honest, I like Texas A&M more than I like Bama. And this is not me trying to be a Bama hater. Truly, truly, it's not. It's the caliber of the teams that these teams have gone up against. Texas A&M took care of LSU. Yes, they lost to South Carolina, but South Carolina was ranked at one point. Bad loss to Auburn, but they also Texas A&M blew out Missouri, like
Yeah.
blew them out. And then they beat Arkansas. Yeah, the Missouri team, I mean, they won 41-10. Like, and then they did lose to Notre Dame or first game of the season. So, and then they got Texas next. We'll see how that plays on out. That's going to be a big game for them. If they lose that one as well, they're out. Even if Texas loses that, I think Texas will still be in. But I think if they beat Texas A&M beats Texas in that rivalry game, I think Texas A&M should get in at 8-3, just with who they've beaten and who they have lost to.
Yeah.
But again,
But
the most likely Alabama is going to get put in, and I'm just going to throw my computer if that happens.
uh yeah, I also think what is it? Texas A&M is going to be knocked out when they're a 4-loss team because I don't think they beat Texas.
No, I
But
don't
again,
either. But I'm just laying the ground of the bullshit that's going to probably ensue
yeah.
if they
So
win.
if you had to put, I mean, 12 teams in casino, would you just go the top 12 right now and just say that looks like a good mix of teams? Because I think
Uh,
that's where I'm at right now. I think that looks like a good mix of teams.
I would have to check that out. Honestly, I don't have it pulled up in front of me.
So the 12 teams it has right now, we can agree. Oregon, Ohio State, Texas, Penn State, Notre Dame, they all win this week, they're in, right? All top 5 teams, all 1 loss, and Oregon has no
Yeah, even
loss.
if they lose their conference championship.
Yes, I still think they're in because they are clearly, I would say, the top 5 teams in the nation.
Yeah.
Then after that, the next 5 would be 2 loss Georgia, 2
Oh,
loss Tennessee.
Indiana's still 5. Good for that. Good for them.
Well, it would be Georgia at 6, Tennessee at 7, Miami at 8.
No, they
So
should. Why isn't it not up? It's not updated.
no,
Stupid.
I'm looking at the updated one. SMU, Indiana, Boise State are 9, 10, 11, and then Clemson is 12.
Mm,
So basically,
there we
after
go.
Notre Dame, it'd be Georgia, Tennessee, which I think are both teams we would agree with. Miami, a 1-loss Miami team, again, a team we agree with. And then I think to just have fun and let new teams in, SMU, Indiana, Boise State, yes. And then I really do think that 12
Well,
spot
let's take Boise State out of it because theirs would be a
at large.
there's uh, yeah, I don't think they're going to. You know what? Here's the thing though. If UNLV beats Nevada, because everything played out, by the way. So Notre Dame beat Army, which wasn't really a big deal, but Fresno State beat Colorado State. So UNLV's in. Say UNLV does upset Boise State, and Boise State ends the season. They would win next week. So 11 and what would that be? 11-2. Yep.
For
So if they
UNLV?
No, so if Boise State wins their next game, they'd be 11, and then go into the conference championship and lose to be UNLV, they would be 11
12 and
and
2.
2.
Yeah.
They would be 11 and 2. Do you think if that happens, where they would lose to UNLV, who is currently sitting 21, and obviously if they beat Boise State, they would jump up, but that wouldn't be a horrible loss to BYU or no, to BYU to Boise State to lose the conference championship against another ranked team. Um, do you think Boise State would get an at-large bid with 2 losses, with having Genty on their team?
I honestly think if it came down to the at-large bid is either UNLV, who just beat them, or Boise State, I don't see how you could justify putting UNLV ahead of them, right? Because
No,
Boise
only
State
way
also beat
well,
them.
yes, I will.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I don't think. Again, I think when it comes,
No, yeah,
honestly,
UNLV is only going to get in if they beat Boise State in the championship. But I'm saying if UNLV beats Boise State, do they get the large bid with 2 losses, being against Oregon and then UNLV, who is currently ranked in the title game and would move up in the rankings?
well, no, I think Boise State has to go undefeated or the rest of the way to get in, because we just saw they just won against Wyoming. It was only a
So
4-point game this
you're
past.
saying they would not get an at-large bid even if they had the Heisman uh, front runner.
No, because he's not the Heisman front runner.
If
Travis Hunter is the
he's
Heisman front
one
runner.
of the Heisman Trophy runners.
I don't think
Um,
I don't think the committee gives a shit about Boise State or Genty. I really don't.
Fair enough. So yeah, they would be out. So yeah, we'll see how this goes down. But I am excited. I think it clears up with a couple of those losses now to get some 3-loss teams going into conference championship plays, where a couple of these teams might be 3 or 4-loss teams. So I think it opens the field up to make it a little easier for the committee to pick.
Yeah. I'm trying to find so right now, as we did last week, it looks like the bracket, let's see. Oh, they don't give me one.
Yeah,
And
I'm struggling finding any of it as well.
yeah, I just want to
Everybody's
see a
like all
bracket.
yeah, no, nobody's got anything. It's all hypothetical. And even then they're not doing things right. Trust me, before this podcast, I was scouring for like 20 minutes trying to find some sort of possible breakdown of where things are going to be.
So this and what you just said, this is basically what it looks like now if you just took the top 12, right? Or if you took the
they
what
still
is
have
it?
BYU in it? Huh.
That's what I'm saying. See this,
No,
but to me this
no,
doesn't look right.
no, it's not, because that has Indiana still at 5 and Boise still at 14. They
Yes, I think
no,
this is the one we looked at last week.
yeah, this is an old one. But
But
that's what I'm saying. It's tough to find any
an
legitimate
updated one. Yeah.
updated ones. But we kind of talked about it. I think you're right with who's going to get in and who's not. So yeah, I mean it's going to be fun going down. I'm excited that like SMU will most likely get a shot, which would be great. Indiana is going to most likely get a shot, which will be great. Teams that you wouldn't normally see have a chance get in. Get in. So
Yeah.
that's exciting.
And it's also exciting that, I mean, you have Oregon right now at number 1 in the country, but again, it's not like you can trust Oregon.
No.
Oregon is not like an Ohio State or a Georgia or an
Again, they should have
Alabama.
lost to Ohio State, came down to a half-second slide. But,
Yeah.
what I'm all this aside, I'm just excited that UNLV has a shot. They have a shot, to make it. A lot of people are saying Tulane would get if Tulane wins their championship and UNLV beats Boise State. People are still saying, and the committee saying Tulane would get in doesn't make sense because their strength of schedule was not compared to what UNLV's was and has been. So just the fact that my team has a legitimate shot for the first time ever, like being ranked in in their history, is pretty fun to get that last spot. But I think it's played out where as long as Boise's now, and this is not me being a homer talking about, this is a legitimate thing where it comes down to that last spot that is going to be a guaranteed entry, being a conference win and not like maybe this, maybe that. If UNLV beats Nevada next week, Reno, It's going to come down to who wins the Mountain West Conference Championship to see who goes to the national playoffs, which would be really fun.
Yeah. We also what is it? Also saw Army finally get exposed, much like Casino was saying they would be by just the first time they actually played somebody. Speaking of Tulane, who really, if you look at Tulane's what is it, the games they've played, they've lost against really the only two like name teams, and name teams being teams outside of the American Athletic Conference. So yeah, again, I don't really know anything about this conference, but all I do know is Tulane, when they
Yeah.
played Oklahoma and Kansas State, they're their two losses. They
Yeah.
kind of got killed by Oklahoma, lost by a touchdown to Kansas State.
Right. And I think, and then UNLV beating Kansas on the road, first game of the season, that really set the tone for, and then Kansas now beating three ranked teams in a row.
Yeah,
You got to take that into heavy consideration if you're the committee. And these only losses are against Syracuse, who was at 28. I don't know. I don't think that it broke top 25, but they're right outside of top
yeah, they're
25.
8-3, so not bad, not a bad team. Yeah,
Syracuse? Yeah. No,
Syracuse State.
not a bad team. And then their other loss being Boise State, who's got one loss, and that's against the undefeated Oregon. So
Yeah,
I couldn't see how Tulane would get in at this point. And Army, they did what they were supposed to do. They lost to Notre Dame. So
yeah.
as
Take your
long as
flowers on that one.
yeah,
You called it.
as long as UNLV beats Reno, which rivalry game, you never know. They should blow them out. But if they do, it's literally going to come down to UNLV, Boise State. The playoffs have already started for that, because it's whoever wins that will get that 12th spot, and I think that is fun. I really want to actually ask work off for that day.
Yeah. UNLV. Who knew that would have such maybe playoff implications if, like you're saying, Boise State stumbles in the next 2 weeks?